I'm bored. Let's read a book. Oh!
The herder passed near the end of our table, nearly brushing the man in green, as he carried a scrawny sheep slung over his shoulder toward the wizards. The inn door had shut, and the sudden odor of filthy sheep and unwashed herder nearly choked me. Had I not escaped from the ice and blizzard so recently, I might have been tempted to forsake the stench of the inn for the clean cold of the outside. Trouble was that the outside was too cold. "Watch," hissed the man in green to the traveler beside me. Thump. Auron's head dropped onto the table. The cider mug was still half full. I looked, listened, but he was still breathing. "Your sheep, sir." The herder set the animal in the space beside the wizard's table. Splat. The sheep repaid the warmth by defecating on the rust floor. The innkeeper looked nervously at the wizard. Antonin smiled, then gestured. Both soil and odor vanished, although the faintest odor of brimstone remained. For the moment, everyone stopped talking, even the gentry. "Bah, you promised 2 silvers. You shall have them, my man." Antonin drew coins from his purse and laid them on the edge of the table. Auron the carpenter was snoring. The herder pulled a small iron hammer from his pouch and touched each coin with it. They remained silver. "Stupid," muttered the man beside me. The fellow in green nodded. "Stupid? To check the coins provided by a wizard? I would have." But with Auron asleep, snoring on the table, there was no one else I dared to ask why it was stupid. Antonin stood, swinging his sleeves back to reveal bare arms, not heavily muscled as I would have expected, nor thin like a cleric's, but knobby like a merchant's. "Before you go, friend herder," the herder turned back and looked down. "You, my friend," the white-robed wizard gestured towards the innkeeper, "the 2 largest trays you have. Long ones be all right? Those would be the best, friend." If nothing else, the continued use of the word friend was not just annoying, but boring. With a sour look as he sipped from his mug, the wizard in gray glanced from the sheep to the wall, then let his eyes pass over me and along the common crowd. In the meantime, the innkeeper brought out 2 enormous wooden serving trays and set them upon the trestle table just beyond the gentry's area. The veiled woman had turned her chair to watch, but the older fighter at Antonin's table kept his back to me. The tradespeople, including a woman tinker with a broad face and muscles that would have exceeded those of either Kuldar or the stonemason's wife, reluctantly shuffled off the benches and stood to the end of the table away from the innkeeper. Antonin stood past 2 gentry tables, both filled with travelers wearing fur collars on their cloaks, no women, and approached the trestle. He motioned to the herder. "Pick up the animal and put it on the table, right over the trays." The herder did so, nearly effortlessly. The table shivered as the sheep wobbled there. "Watch," hissed the man in green. I was watching, as was everyone in the inn. The wizard advanced, and the herder stepped back, his hand on the leather belt where he had placed the silver coins. Antonin raised his hands. I closed my eyes and looked down, not knowing why. Sssss! Light like a sunburst flared across the room with the sharp hissing sound. Even with my eyes closed, the light had hurt. I squinted, blinking. The tears helped, and I could see long before anyone else could. Antonin had a nasty smile on his face, the look of a bully pleased at beating it administered to a small child. Justin had an even more sour look upon his face. and the rest, from the commons to the gentry, were blotting their eyes trying to see, except for the veiled woman, who was looking at Antonin from deep-set eyes, whose expression was unreadable from where I sat. Look at that! In my observation of the wizards, I had forgotten the sheep. I tried not to gape with everyone else, but I did. The 2 trays were heaped with succulent, sliced, and steaming mutton, with joints at the edges, and with sweetbreads piled at each end. A sheepskin rug lay on the floor beside Antonin, who was toweling off his forehead with the back of his wide right sleeve. Outside of the joints on the tray, there were no bones. Sweat suddenly poured down my forehead. The common area felt like a kitchen when Aunt Elizabeth baked bread for all the neighbors at Winterdawn. I watched as the wizard in white smiled at the innkeeper, then at Justin, the grey wizard. Meat. Honest meat for those who would go without. Antonin turned to Justin. Actions do speak louder than words, brother wizard. Tell me that it is wrong to feed the hungry. It is not wrong to feed the hungry, but it is wrong to feed their hungers. I never liked obscure answers, and I didn't like Justin's. If he thought that the Antonin was a showman, he should have said so, or that he served evil by tempting hungry people. But he didn't. Justin only smiled sadly again. Did the man ever do anything besides disapprove of the White Wizard? Antonin the White Wizard faced all of us in the common area. Come forward, those of you without a penny for food. There is enough for a small portion for all who are hungry. His voice was hearty and friendly, and the words sounded genuine, but the real imitation was the smell of roast mutton. First came a boy in a patched jacket, the apprentice of some tradesman. After him came a thin girl in leggings too big, and an old herd coat too small. Before the shuffle of their feet had reached the trestle table, half of the commons were pressing after them. Only the whiteness of the wizard kept the crowd in line. Alrin snored on the table, but the man next to me and his companion in the green had joined the crowd. Tempting as the mutton smelled, the odor repelled me as much as it attracted me, so I munched through the rest of the hard black bread and thin cheese wedge, while the others jostled for the mutton. The innkeeper emerged from the crowd carrying the sheepskin, the one thing of lasting value, and disappeared briefly into the kitchen with the prize, emerging quickly with a large truncheon, and the other man with an even greasier apron and a larger club. Antonin sat at his table and sipped from a real crystal glass wine. Not mead or cider. Glancing once or twice in my direction, I tried to ignore him as I swallowed the last of the cider. The gray magician, Justin, stood up and pulled his cloak around him. Then he walked toward me. I stood, wondering whether to meet him or flee, and I shrugged. Let us check the animals, apprentice. I nodded, realizing that, for whatever reason, he was offering some sort of protection, and followed him into the blizzard that separated the inn from the stable. The howl of the wind was lower, only half wail compared to the shrieking that forced me inside earlier. The needle ice no longer fell, replaced with fine white powder so thick that it blurred like a heavy sea fog. You nearly lost your soul there, young fellow. I wanted to leave him right then. Another person knowing better than I did, ready to preach and not explain. But he hadn't asked anything, so I waited to see if he would explain. He didn't, just walked toward the stable. I followed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of these videos. See y'all in the next one. Goodbye!